like that. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see me here on YouTube as well as on book books for me on the whatnot.com platform. So I'm holding my phone. Hopefully I can do this. Good evening, everyone who's joining me on both platforms. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time this evening. Obviously, I am Rhonda Green, author of the book 40 Questions Before a First Date. If you don't have your copy, go ahead, grab a copy. You're going to need that. I mean, we're almost near Valentine's, everybody's going to be in the stores. I actually was in the store today and they already had the Valentine's stuff out. So, yeah, it's that time of year again. And don't we all want to have a boo? I know Christmas is past. Maybe we're booed up. If not, we still got time for 2026 Christmas. But anyway, today on the live stream, we are going to be talking about several things. One, we're going to be talking about why grown singles keep making the same mistakes, y'all. We don't want to keep doing that. I also want to talk to you about saving time. Obviously, that's why I wrote the book 40 Questions Before a First Date, because we don't want to be out here wasting our time. And the third thing we're going to talk about this evening is the difference between curiosity questions and compatibility questions. I wrote 40 questions before first date because I know obviously something was going wrong in my dating past, because I would date and then a couple years later the relationship would end. So I just don't want to be in the pattern of these short-term relationships, and even though they last a year or two, they're short term in the scheme of things when it comes to, listen, the rest of my life with someone. And so I don't want to just be in and out of relationships. I want to get the questions asked in the beginning instead of waiting 3-4 years to find out the deep stuff that really matters. And I apologize if I'm looking away from the camera. I'm on two platforms right now. And so I have to kind of look back and forth to both platforms. So let's talk about it. All right. Like I said, why do grown singles keep repeating the same dating mistakes? Is it bad luck? Or do you even believe in bad luck? Is it bad karma? Did they do something in their past to someone else and now it's coming back to bite them in the butt? Is it just bad information? Because honestly, sometimes we just have bad information, or we are blinded because we're looking at the person for what we want to see instead of seeing what is actually there. Have you ever looked at one of those pictures and it has like different pictures within the picture? So you can look at it from one angle and see something, and then turn around and look at it from a different angle. It's a wholly different, entirely different picture. There's that one with the lady and the vase. So you look at it a certain way, it's a vase, but then if you look at it a different way, it's like two women facing each other. If you haven't seen that, I'm gonna try to find one and put it in the link. But it's your perspective sometimes. How you are getting the information also matters, because if you're not asking the right question, then you're not going to get the right answer. We grew up and people would say in school, there's no dumb question. But at the same time, you got to make sure you're asking the right question. And if you don't know what to ask, how are you going to know? So asking the right question so you get good information. All right. Dating is not bad luck. It's just sometimes getting bad information because you don't know how to get down to the nitty gritty and the things that matter about a person's character. Also, why do grown singles keep repeating the same dating mistakes? Another reason is because they feel the butterflies. They see someone, ooh, he's sexy or she's fine. And you've got this chemistry, but chemistry without clarity can be expensive. So you don't want to just have chemistry. You want to have some clarity in who you're dating, why you're dating, how you're going to date, where this relationship is going. Don't just rely on the chemistry. You need clarity in your dating. And that's another reason you got to get this book, because it's going to help you get some clarity. As you know, this is actually a workbook. So when you are going through this book, there's going to be space in there for you to write your answers There's questions for yourself so you get to know what you really want before you start dating, making sure you're happy within yourself and not looking to date someone so that they can make you happy. Got to be happy within yourself first. So we don't want to just have all the chemistry and the butterflies because, like I said, chemistry without clarity is expensive. And why is it so expensive? Because it's your emotions that are involved. And so many people date with emotions and not date with intentionality. So we want to be intentional about our dating. We want to be intentional about who we're spending our time with, how we're spending our time. One of the things that I say in another book, because I also mentor female survivors of domestic violence. So in my other class, in my course for them, I tell them when they get back into the dating world, one of the things you want to do is make sure that you're doing things when you're dating to spend time together. Like if I meet someone and he wants to go out on a date with me, we do not go to the movies because at the movies, you're just sitting there watching a screen. There's no interaction with each other. The only thing I can learn from going to the movies with you is A, are you going to be talking in the movie? Because that's rude. B, okay, you're going to get us some popcorn or whatever. But those things don't matter when it comes to long term relationships. I go to movies by myself. I actually prefer to because I don't want to be bothered. Okay, so I go to movies sometimes in the middle of the day when nobody else is there. But the thing about it is, when you are dating, and thank you all for joining me. I meant to say hello to everyone. Hi to everyone who said hi. If you're watching me on either platform, rather you're on Whatnot, Instagram, wherever you're watching this from, YouTube, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you might have for me on this evening. And I lost my train of thought, so I forgot what I was saying. So, anywho, we want to make sure that I know when we're dating in a way that we are taking the time to get to know each other. And if you're going to the movies, that's not going to allow you to interact. It's not going to allow you to see how that person interacts with other people. It's not going to allow you really to have the intention that is needed when you're dating. You want to make sure you're doing things that you can kind of judge more about this person. And I know some people don't like the word judge, but face it, if you are not a good judge of character, you're going to end up in a relationship with someone who is going to hurt you, okay? And we don't want that to happen. That's why we're talking about the way we choose to date, all right? We don't want to be 30, 40, 50 years old and making the same mistakes, okay? As singles, we do not want to keep making the same dating mistakes. We don't have time for that. So let's interrupt that cycle, that bad cycle, those bad dating habits, and let's get some clarity in our dating. Let's get good information when we're dating because that's what the word dating is. It's data. We are simply gathering data before we decide to move forward and get our hearts involved with the wrong person. And number two, why 40 questions? Okay, so there's actually 40 questions numbered in here, but even within the context of each thing, you will see there are other additional follow-up questions. And the context gives you information about why you want to ask these questions. What is it that you're searching for? What is it that you need to know about this person? So there's actually more than 40 questions, to be honest with you. But you don't have to go through all of them with someone because by the time you get through the first 5 or 6, quite honestly, if you're not vibing with that person, there's no need to go forward with the other questions because the further along in the book, the more intimate the questions get. And I mean intimate in a way about their personality, their character, their life, what their fears are, their greatest accomplishments, their greatest failures, things that is going to require vulnerability from the other person. So you probably won't get through all of the questions with one person, but you may use this as a way to kind of weed out people because those beginning questions, like there's a question number 7, I think it is, where it asks, tell me what you've learned from your relationships in the past. Like, what were your biggest things you learned from past relationships, whether they were good relationships or bad relationships? What did you learn? Just give me 3 things. And so when you ask a person that question, they should have some kind of answer. If they say, I have not learned anything from my relationships, then I would say to you that you should understand based on their response. They aren't going to learn your love language. They aren't going to learn about you. They aren't going to learn your likes and dislikes because they didn't even care enough to learn more about themselves and what they need to do to be a better man or woman in their future relationships. I added that question to the book because I went out on a date with someone. He was divorced, and this was our first date. It wasn't a blind date because we'd spoken on the phone. We'd met out in public. And so I go on this date with him, and that was one of my questions because he was divorced. I said, "What did you learn from the marriage and the divorce?" And his response was nothing. So honestly, after that, because I even rephrased the question to make sure he understood, and it wasn't a question where I was asking him to give me a deep, dark secret about the marriage. I wasn't asking why it failed. I just wanted to know how he grew from the failure of the marriage, because if I'm going to talk to this person and I'm moving towards marriage with this person, I need to know you've learned something. You're not going to make the same mistakes. How did you grow from it? And when he said nothing, it just turned me off. I had no more to say because I was like, this isn't going to work. I don't have time to be digging for someone who's not emotionally and mature enough available to answer a simple question. So that question is in the book, 40 Questions Before a First Date. And like I said, I do give context on each of the questions as to why it is there. And so let's talk about why, because questions are going to save you time. These questions are going to save you money. These questions are going to save you some emotional energy, because in the sense of all the time you invest in getting to know someone, investing, going out, investing in spending money to, rather it's to look good, get a new outfit, or rather you're buying dinner. My cat is doing something behind me. This is going to save you time and money. It's going to save you emotional energy as well, because I don't want you to become burned out from dating. Okay. Dating burnout comes because you're just guessing, is this someone that I'm interested in? You're guessing, is this someone I truly want to be with? There's no need to be guessing about your heart. So we don't want to just spend our time doing nothing, spending our time just out and about. Some people say it's having fun, but honestly, I'm 50 years old. I've had fun. Some of that fun has gotten me in trouble too. So at this point, I'm not guessing about who I'm giving my heart to. I'm not going to guess about. I'm going to ask the right questions and have the conversations that matter. Because the cost of unanswered questions, meaning the years, the trauma bonds, the resentment, all of that, it costs too much. It costs too much. And as you grow older, you realize, yes, it costs something to give your energy and time to someone, because time spent cannot be redeemed. It cannot, you're not going to get that time back. I don't want to use the word redeem because God is the redeemer of everything. He can redeem the time, He can redeem the years. But at the same time, realistically, we know there's a difference between when we were 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, because at some point you're going to have to realize, I have more years behind me than I have ahead of me. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. We all want to live till we're over 100. I say that all the time. I'm going to live till I'm 100 years old. If the Lord hadn't come back and cracked the sky, and Jesus hadn't come back and raptured us up, I want to live till I'm 100 years old. But we don't want to waste years in the wrong relationships. And that's why we ask these questions. Why so many questions? Because we're not trying to kill the vibe. We're not trying to, kill the romance. I hope I can use that word on my live, because, in this day and age, you got to be careful. So we're not trying to lessen the romance. But what we are trying to do is make sure we're not operating in confusion. I'll say that again. We're not trying to remove and lessen the romance in the relationship, but we are trying to remove and decrease all of the confusion. All right, so this book helps you to date with purpose. It helps you to date without the pressure, because you're just building the friendship. You're trying to get to know someone. And these questions, like I said, I'm going to save you the time, It's going to save you the emotional energy. It's going to save you money. All those things that you don't want to spend and you don't want it to cost you when it does not have to cost you. All right. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the difference between curiosity and compatibility questions. Like I said, the questions near the end are a little more personal than the questions in the very beginning. Because if you make it towards the back of the book with someone, and again, you're not sitting there with this book open interviewing them, these are conversations that you naturally will have with someone, okay? So as you're going through these questions, you are asking questions to help you build a really good foundation. You're not asking what's your favorite color. I mean, I don't care what's your favorite color. I'm on both platforms. I really don't care. If I was getting a gift for him and want to decorate the party in his favorite color, that's one thing. But I need to know, instead of what's your favorite color, a better question to me is, how do you define commitment? Because some people have different definitions even of commitment. You may automatically think commitment is one person dating a man, or one person dating a woman, just the two of you in a relationship, not you and three people. That's not commitment. Like, you got a Monday chick, a Tuesday chick, a Wednesday chick. Okay, that is not commitment. So what does commitment look like to you versus what's your favorite color? That's what I mean by asking questions that where you're just showing you're curious about someone versus the questions you're showing where you're committed about getting to know someone, okay? These surface questions, they strike up conversation, but like I said, you want to have the type of conversations that's going to reveal character. You don't want to have these conversations that's going to give you a sense of false intimacy, because there are a lot of people who will stay on the phone with each other for 2, 3, 4 hours. And when they get off the phone, what did you learn about that person? Did you learn that, oh, she likes Marvel movies? I'm using myself as an example. I like Marvel movies. I like action movies. I do not like scary movies, okay? So tell me, if that's what we talk about for 30 minutes, what do you now know about me as a person and my character, how I'm going to treat you, how I'm going to handle you? If that's the conversation me and a guy have, and I get off the phone and all we talked about is the latest movies that are out, that's not going to tell me how you're going to handle my heart. So being curious about someone and how they live and their lifestyle, and being curious about who they are personally and their fabric that what they're brought up on, their values, those are two different things. So that's another curious question versus compatibility questions. You want to ask the questions that really reveal character, and I know where you can get some of those questions from. This book right here. All right, so listen, if anybody has a question, you can certainly put it in the chat. I'm going to look at the other platform to make sure nobody has sent me a message over there. I thank you all for joining me on Whatnot. I appreciate you being here. You can go ahead and purchase the book. If you purchase tonight, I will mail it out tomorrow morning. All right, so go ahead and get your book, 40 Questions Before First Date. It's only 15 bucks plus shipping. So go ahead and get it, because you need this workbook in your life, okay? You need this workbook in your life. All right, so we have so far talked about why grown singles keep repeating the same dating mistakes. We've talked about questions saving you time. These questions are saving you money and emotional energy. Okay, we just talked about the difference between curiosity questions versus compatibility questions. And so now let us talk about why asking the right questions feels uncomfortable. Because so many of us get into relationships and then 2, 3 years down the road, we're learning something about a person that we didn't know before. We're learning something about their character that if we knew this day one, would not have chosen them. If we knew something about their selfishness or something about how inattentive they are, or how unemotionally available they are, we would not have dated them. My cat is now trying to get my attention. So I'm sorry. All right. So asking these questions may sometimes feel uncomfortable, but they are necessary. And one of the things I ask in the book is, what's your biggest accomplishment? What's your biggest fear? Some people are afraid of rejection, and it's like, my cat is now playing with my hands. Some people are afraid of rejection, but I want you to make sure, even if you are afraid of rejection, that doesn't mean you are not truthful. Because Evers, being honest is going to take things much further in the relationship than being deceitful. So be honest with me and let me make the choice of what you're sharing with me is something that I can handle going forward. But don't hide things from me because you want to make yourself look good. If you are truly interested in spending your life with someone, it's not about trying to impress them so much where you don't let them see you, your ups, your downs, your vulnerabilities, your truth. So making sure that even though some of the questions in this book, especially near the end, might make you feel a little uncomfortable, it's better to ask these questions now before 3, 4, 5 years down the road where your heart's so involved that you're like, okay, I'm just stuck with this person now. I hate this about him or her, but I'm stuck now because I've already invested so much. Okay. We've all seen that movie where Angela Bassett, and Mary J. Blige sings the song 11 years sacrifice, and what do I have besides the kids? Okay. We don't want to be in that situation, especially if you're over 40. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. So we're trying to avoid all of that. All right. So people avoid asking questions, and they avoid asking the questions they don't want to answer. So even though sometimes, and there are questions in this book, and I talk about it, you may even be uncomfortable asking the question. So now I need to make sure that you did take the time to answer the question yourself. The first chapter is all about you. Before you even start getting to know someone else, I ask you questions so you can reflect on the things that you want in your life. What makes you happy? Are you trying to find love in someone else because you're trying to avoid fixing yourself? What makes you tick? What makes you happy in a relationship? Because you need to know those things first. You need to be happy within yourself before you try to bring somebody else in your mess. Clean your mess up, okay? You don't have to be perfect, but you need to be moving towards being healed and whole so that you can have a fulfilling relationship with someone else, okay? Um, Another point I want to talk about tonight is, and we won't be on here long. I think I've been on here 23 minutes. All right, 30 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up. All right, we're at 23 minutes right now. How do questions reveal red flags? Everybody's talking about the red flags. They're popping the balloon because they don't want to be with someone for whatever reasons. This book is going to help you figure out those red flags. All right. Red flags are never hidden. We just ignore them. Honestly, have you ever dated someone and then after the relationship ended, you look back over the relationship and it might have been the very first time you met him or her? You're like, you know what? I picked that up, but I ignored it because he was cute. Or I picked that up, but I ignored it because maybe she was nervous about meeting me the first time. These things you're picking up, they are red flags. So don't ignore the red flags. Trust your gut. Trust your instinct. You have intuition for a reason. And women are not the only one that have intuition. Men have intuition too. So if you get that gut feeling that, you know what, something just doesn't sit right about the way she talks to her mom, or something just doesn't sit right about the way he treats his mom. Something doesn't sit right with me about the fact that he doesn't pay child support and doesn't plan on paying child support. So what does that tell you about the person? They're not taking care of their own seed, and you want to be in a relationship and expect them to take care of you. The one most important person they should be taking care of is a minor child that they brought into this world. That should tell you something. That should be a red flag. I don't care how bad the relationship ended with the parent, that child did not ask to be in this world. So if you're dating someone who is like, I'm not paying child support and I'm not doing that and blah, 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 I don't even want anything to do with this kid, think about that person's character. Think about how they're treating an innocent child. Is that someone you want to fall in love with? I mean, they can change, but they're going to have to prove that before you get involved with them and before you end up having a child with that person, okay? So like I said, red flags, don't hide, we ignore them. All right. So listening matters more than just asking. The title of this book is 40 Questions Before a First Date, but there are lines in here for you to actually write your responses, write your self-reflection, write about what the other person said, how they answered, because I need you to make sure that you're listening as well. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. I need you to make sure that you're listening equally as much as you're asking questions. All right. So I said I'm going to be on here 30 minutes. We're at, hi, I do not speak Spanish. However, the book is available in Spanish on Amazon. So you can go to Amazon or my website, rhondagreen.com, and you can get the book in Spanish. I did have it translated in Spanish, although my Spanish is not good. I took Spanish in high school, and that was a long time ago. So I'm sorry, but maybe give me a few years. Maybe I'll become fluent in Spanish because I do want to learn Spanish again. So thank you for asking that question. So just go to my website or you can go to Amazon and you can get the book in Spanish. Okay. All right. So let us recap, and I will keep looking on both platforms to see if anyone has put any questions over here for me. Let me just check that real quick. Thank you so much for joining me over on Whatnot. Thank you all who are watching this on other platforms. Appreciate you being here on a Friday night. All right, no more questions. Okay. All right, so let's just recap what we talked about on this evening. In case you missed anything, you can definitely go back, but I'm gonna give a quick recap of everything we talked about. We talked about why grown singles keep repeating the same dating mistakes. All right, it's not bad luck, it's bad information. So in dating, you're gathering data, and I want you to get the accurate data. If you don't have accurate input, you're not going to get accurate output. So get the data so that you can make the calculations and find out whether or not this person is going to be someone that you could potentially see yourself with long term. It's about clarity, not chemistry. All right. We want to date intentionally and not date emotionally. Okay. I know you're like, but wait a minute, you're dating to fall in love. Listen, emotions change. All right. Feelings change. Right. You can love someone and your feelings still change about them. But before you fall in love with them, let's not follow the feelings, but let's follow the intentions of their heart towards you. Next, we talked about these questions will help you save time, save money, and emotional energy. All right. We want to date with purpose. We're not going to be pressured into dating because we feel we are reaching a certain age or everyone around us is getting married. We are going to date intentionally. All right. We're going to make sure we're asking the right questions because unanswered questions are going to make you waste your time. We don't want to waste our time. We want to limit the time we waste with the wrong person. So start asking the right questions. Next, we talked about the difference between curiosity and compatibility questions. I don't want you asking me what is my favorite color. I want you asking me what does commitment look like. Okay? I don't want you asking me what's my favorite movie. I want you asking me questions like how does my relationship with my immediate family look like? Those are the kind of things, because you know you're marrying to the families too. So make sure you're asking these questions, because surface questions will create false intimacy, but you want to ask the deep questions that are going to let you reveal that person's character. Tonight, we also talked about why asking the right questions feels uncomfortable, but is absolutely necessary. And I want you to grab this book, read it, answer the questions here about yourself, and then start speaking to the other person and putting these questions even in your own words. You don't have to read them verbatim. Actually, please don't read, don't interview anybody. This is a learning tool for you. It is a workbook, so you can write your answers in and you can reflect on that other person's answer as well. All right, so listen, making sure that you're asking the right questions, listening to the answers, digesting the answers, dissecting the answer, asking follow up questions. Because if you're not comfortable enough to have these deep conversations with someone, why in the world would you think you're going to be comfortable spending the rest of your life with them? Okay. So make sure that you're making the right decisions. You're looking at the red flags, you're not ignoring the red flags. So make sure you are making sound decisions so that you can get in the right relationships that last, that bring you fulfillment, that bring you love, that bring you joy, that bring you peace. All right. And keep asking those questions, ladies and gentlemen. Happy dating to you. My name is Rhonda Green. And of course, my book, 40 Questions Before a First Date, it is available at www.rhondagreen.com, RHONDAGREEN.com. It is also available on Amazon, and you can get the book in both English and Spanish. The book, you can get the hard copy, or if you don't want the paperback, if you want the downloadable version, you can do that as well, both on my website as well on Amazon. You can download an electronic version. All right. So thank you all for joining me. If anyone has a question, go ahead and ask now, because if you have a question, I'll stick around and answer your questions. Let me make sure no one's on the other platform. All right. Thank you all for joining me. I don't see any questions over on Whatnot. Is there anyone here on YouTube who has a question for me? If not, I thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because I've been trying to post. What are my credentials? Okay, so I'm glad you asked that question. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed in anything except for I have a real estate license and I have a license to drive. But my books are based on personal experience. A lot of these books, questions in my book, I give you context as to why I asked them. I don't call names, but a lot of these books, these questions, like you see, this is must ask questions. Some of them come from common sense. Some of them come from experience. I am a 50-year-old woman, so I definitely have a few years behind me and a lot of years ahead of me. But having been in relationships and looking back, especially after I get out those relationships, and just having friends over the years who've experienced certain things, and some of us experience the same thing just with a different person. Okay. And if you've ever heard the song, oh, who sings it? She talks about different cast, same storyline. You know, sometimes we date and we're dating the same personality within a different body. So we all have experiences. And you know what? I think your name is Tom. You have experiences that you probably could write in a book and help somebody else in their life's journey. We all have different experiences, and writing a book or going on a live and sharing your truth can help someone else live in their truth and live a better life. After all, what good is it for us to go through things, have these experiences, learn from them, grow from them, but keep them bottled inside? I mean, every one of us should help the next person. We are human beings, and we should be able to share and show love to other people. So that is my credential. I'm here to show you, love you, hopefully in some way also show you Jesus Christ, that he loves you as well, because I am a Christian author and I consider myself a Christian author because I know that some of my values, my upbringing, was based on the fact that God is real and God is our creator and Jesus is our savior. So some of these questions you do want to ask about that person's religious belief. That's in this book as well. What does worship look like to them? Do they tithe? That's an important question. I don't know a lot of married couples who talked about that before they got married, because tithing, if you are familiar with that, that means giving a tenth of your income. Some people believe in tithing, some people don't. Not here to get into that, but if you do believe in that, what if you marry someone who does not? How is he or she going to feel about 10% of your income every month going to a charity or going to a church? Or how does she or he feel about, let's say you want to go volunteer every month with feeding the homeless? Is that something that he or she is going to support because that's what you enjoy doing? That's how you give back. So when you ask, what are my credentials? I hope I've answered that question. And please understand, like I said, I'm not a psychologist. This book is not written to resolve every issue in people's lives, but this book is at least helping you have the conversations. And there are a lot of people out there that don't even know how to start the conversations. They don't know where to start, what to ask. You're not using this book as an interview guide, but you're using this book as a thought process for how you reflect on your wants, your desires, and how you engage in a relationship. Hello from the UK. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate that. That's the wonderful thing about the internet, is that we can connect with people around the world. Thank you, Tom. I hope I answered your question. I appreciate that. 40 questions before first date. You can get this book on my website, rhondagreen.com. It is also available on Amazon. So if you have appreciated, or if I've made you think about anything during this conversation, please go grab the book. There's so much more information in here. And like I said, there's spaces in here for you to answer your questions that you may not have thought about yourself, reflect on it, and then have those conversations with the person you're potentially interested in dating. All right, you all. Thank you so much again for joining me on both platforms. I see we have some more people on Whatnot. Thank you all for joining me. Just click the link, go to Amazon, or if you're on Whatnot, you can go ahead and buy right there on Whatnot. It is there for you. And if you purchase tonight, I will go ahead and get that mailed out to you in the morning. So the book is $15 plus shipping. I appreciate everyone being on the live with me tonight. I love you all. Just know, no matter what you are experiencing in life, you are loved, not just by your friends and family, but you're loved by God, the creator of the universe and the world. So make sure that you're also loving yourself, knowing how valuable you are to Christ Jesus. Thank you, everyone. Go get 40 questions before a first date. Amen. Thank you so much. And happy dating to everyone. Thank you again for joining me. Take care and have a wonderful weekend. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're not following me already on all my platforms. I'm author Rhonda Green. Take care, you guys.